It is so cold out here. I think I might have to film all that bit again. I just did a long intro and yeah, no, it didn't look good. It was all like... Hey. Welcome back to my channel. If you do not know who I am, my name is Sifi. I am a personal trainer and a nutritional advisor, and I work here in Windsor, but also online with my clients. And my channel is all about kind of fitness meets family life, all squashed up together in one messy ball. Today, I thought that I would take you through day one of my split. I'm currently on a 5-day split at the moment. No, I do not train loads and loads and loads. I do 5 quite short sessions, all on a split. And today is leg day. More specifically, legs, glutes, but quad dominant days. It's been a long time since I've actually done anything to specifically work on my quads, so I am sore all the time. If you want to hear more about like my own specific training split or know kind of where I am within my kind of fitness, whatever, plan, journey, I don't know, then leave me a message below and I will make a video on that, or just answer your question, you know, whichever. If you're new here, I would love for you to hit that subscribe button. And actually, if you're somebody who watches these videos a lot but are still not subscribed, I'd really appreciate it. Would you just please hit the subscribe button, help my channel grow. Give me a thumbs up and I will speak to you again after we hit the gym. See you later. Let's go. Right, let's go into the gym. Bye. Very typically, the gym is really busy. Oh, I'm still wearing my hat. Welcome to the voiceover. I start every session with a short cardiovascular warm-up, mostly just to have a general all-round warm-up and to switch me into workout mode. I then take it into various dynamic stretches and occasionally some specific activation work, but I didn't film this today as I wanted this video to be quite short and snappy, but typically I take the first 12 to 15 minutes of my workout to do this. I then move on to specific movements to warm up. My sessions, especially lower body sessions, always start off with a major lift, or rather a compound movement like a squat, like I'm doing today, a bench or a deadlift. So I'll always warm up to working weight with the lift I'm performing. Today, my first exercise was a back squat, so I wanted to warm up with the bar and I worked up incrementally to my working weight. If you wear a supportive running shoe with ankle supports and squashy soles, it really hinders foot stability and a huge percentage of the force of the drive out of the squat will be absorbed by the trainer. It's a bit like trying to squat on a mattress. It's hard to squat efficiently and with any degree of power when you can't make contact with a solid base. You need to be able to really plant your feet, especially heel onto the floor, and a supportive shoe is just not going to allow your feet to stabilise themselves or get stronger themselves. I naturally always go for a high bar position over a low bar position, so you'll notice I've placed the bar high up on my back and it's sat across my upper traps. A typical coaching cue would be to think of creating a shelf with your upper traps. In 2019, it's an ambition of mine to start retraining my squat with a low bar position where the bar sits across the posterior delts. Squatting with a high bar is the most basic form of squatting, and personally, I think it looks a lot better. You're looking at aiming to keep your hips under the bar, with the bar in line with your shoulders and your feet, keeping the angle of your chest upright and long as possible. Brace my abs and try and initiate the movement by breaking at the hips, pushing back into my heels. I also try and think about spreading my knees outwards rather than just dropping down. I can't help but use the classic think of how you would sit on the loo cue, but that is essentially what you're trying to do. Sit backwards into a seated position. I always try and drop my hips back to parallel or just below. This basically means that when I'm in the hole or at bottom position, my hips are in line with my knees or just below. And to ascend, I continue to pull my chest up as high as possible by pulling the bar down hard over my shoulders, as well as pushing my knees outwards. Today I was working lightly with around 40 or 50 kilos for 12 reps and I did 3 working sets. I don't like to superset the squat with anything as form always takes precedence for me. The next set of exercises I did was a superset of single leg glute thrusts into dumbbell walking lunges. I actually find that any sort of glute bridge where you're lying flat on the floor and working through a reduced range of motion to that of a thrust is a little bit more effective for me, but I already bridge in 2 other sessions of my current training phase. I start off the thrust with the bench between my shoulder blades, my chin forward down towards my chest, and my ankle and knees in line with each other. I'm focusing on initiating the movement by squeezing my glutes and not trying to use the resting leg to hitch myself up or hyperextend into my lumbar. I then went straight into the walking lunges with dumbbells. This becomes much more glute focused after doing the bridges for me. I keep my chest up and high, shoulders back and retracted, abs tight to prevent myself from planting forward. And I did 10 reps each side of the thrust and straight into 20 strides of the walking lunges for 3 sets. You can use anything for walking lunges. I personally prefer using dumbbells and holding them to my sides because it also fires up my delts, but you can also put a bar on your back, you can use kettlebells, you can use power bags, just mix it up. For me, I prefer using dumbbells. The next exercise I did was wide banded 45-degree press. I put my shoes back on for the rest of the session because following exercises were fine to do so. I probably should disclaim here that wearing shoes is always preferable because you're going to know all about it if you drop a 25 kilo plate on your foot, which I have actually done before. The band I'm using is a Mark Bell GRIPPY hip circle band. It's got a grippy liner so it doesn't slip and roll down. I'll put the link in the description box below if you want one yourself. This one is a medium to large, and I used it on the 45-degree press to add more torque through my glutes, and it takes what is mostly a quad dominant exercise for me into a more glute and quad dominant exercise. I did 3 sets of 12 to 15 reps. I'm asked all the time what the weight of the plate is, and at the gym in Windsor, the plate with no added weight on is 47 kilos. I did a slightly modified froggie stance whereby my feet are actually pretty narrow on the plate with my feet facing outwards, and I'm driving my knees out against the band both on the eccentric and concentric phase of the move. This particular position is optimum for me to feel the burn in my glutes, but I urge you to play around with your foot position and stance. Typically, the wider your foot position, the more you'll feel your glutes, and the narrower and straighter your foot position, you will feel your quads. The latter part of the session, I worked on quad isolation. The easiest, most specific movement you could probably do would be to hit the leg extension machine. I did 3 sets of 12. I really make sure to connect my mind to the muscle and squeeze my quads at the top of the movement, being sure to stay in control and not bouncing off of my knee joints. You want to stay in control through every phase of the movement and be especially sure to control the eccentric, or rather the lowering part of the movement. It really helps me if I pull myself down hard into the seat and I squeeze my behind, keeping my whole body as tight as possible. The next exercise I moved on to was a hack squat variation. We don't have a hack squat in my gym, so typically I use either Smith machine or I do this movement. You can use any fixed bench so long as it's under your knees and it won't budge, because you're going to be putting a fair amount of weight back onto the bench. Your feet and your knees need to stay perfectly in line with your calves pressing against the back of the bench. Hold the kettlebell goblet style, which is at chest height, with the weight on your chest and your elbows tucked in at your side. Drive your bum backwards as though you want to sit down. You'll likely feel quite unstable at first, like you're going to fall backwards, but you won't. You want to return to the top of the movement by contracting and squeezing your quads. I do squeeze my bum and tuck it under at the top, but the only thing I'm really trying to do is work my quads to get maximum pump. And I did this for 3 sets of 12 to 15 reps. The last move was just a little finisher for my glutes by doing some banded hip abduction. Now, I'm not the biggest fan of putting unilateral, or should I say single-sided movements into my programs, but this is mostly due to time. They really are actually important exercises because they help work out muscle imbalances and such. But as I said, they do take up extra time. I really need to keep my workouts to be short but as effective as possible, and this is just due to time constraints. An alternative to this would be to use the hip abductor machine. I did 2 working sets to failure, and then I was done. This whole session took me about 45 minutes. Okay, that's me done. My sexy Waitrose bag for my gym bag. That was actually a lot harder than I thought it was going to be. I didn't want to do a whole lot of supersets or anything like that. I just kind of wanted to focus on connecting mind to the muscle. I find it very hard to get my butt to fire up when I'm doing things like squats and lunges, so I have to work quite light and really concentrate on like range of motion, depth, and making sure that I'm driving up through my heels, making sure that I'm switching on my glutes and working effectively. So I tend to strip the weight right back when I do that. I will put in the description box below the workout details so you can do it along with me. If you like this style of video, please do give me a thumbs up, and don't forget to subscribe and press the bell notification so you don't miss any workouts with me, and I will see you next week. Thursdays 7 PM, new video every week. Right, bye.